Hi, friends. Welcome to episode 17 of the Stoked to Have You podcast. I'm your host, Amy, and I am stoked to have you. It is good to be back on a little solo episode, and I am really excited to talk today because I've had this kind of a revelation about my own creativity. Now, if you're creative and you're listening to this, you have definitely, I think I can guarantee at least 9 out of 10 of you have had a moment where you question your creativity. And lately I've been searching for my not purpose, but my reason for creating. And I also recently got into the London Marathon. I'm so excited. It's going to be in April. And I got in with a charity, kidney donor athletes. So for those of you who know that I had donated my kidney to my cousin, it'll be 10 years, December 14th this year. Where the time has gone is completely beyond me, but it has been obviously a whirlwind of highs and lows, including, the loss of Liz. However, I have to look on the bright side. One, because she is such a light and I don't think she'd ever want me to be sad, but also just, I think it does add to my purpose of spreading the information on kidney donation and the importance of it and how we can help each other. And even if it's not through donating a kidney, it's like, how do we help our fellow friends and each other and make this world a bit of a better place? And, it's being kind, it's, gestures, it's doing what we love and also inspiring others and being an example of our best selves, so others can too. And part of the reason why I started this podcast, part of the reason why I do what I do, I work in the service industry, I create art. It's all a part of my purpose. But recently I've also stay on topic. With the running, I'm actually really excited because I'm going to host an event at the end of this year to celebrate my 10-year kidneyversary with Liz, and as well as share a little bit about myself through my art. And so I'll be doing an art show, and then a portion of the proceeds are also going to go towards kidney donor athletes. So when you sign up with a marathon or any kind of race through a charity, you have to raise a certain amount of money. And they have the requirement of $5,000, which is obviously awesome. But I would like to raise more if possible. So I want to try and do a big event. It'll dates and everything will come soon, but the idea is, to do a night event and then do a day event and then have a few days where people can come and look through the art and kind of experience that for themselves. But stay tuned. I'm very excited. But recently, after I've been thinking about this piece that I wanted to create, to kind of, I guess, commemorate our experience, Liz and I, and obviously from my perspective, but her and I have talked about it extensively. But I've had this piece in my brain, and then when I got into the marathon, it just felt like, I don't know, a piece to the puzzle that I didn't even know was there, and that I was like, I think I need to do this show. And I felt this very compelling, what's the word? Emotion towards creating. I a need. And so, I've been sitting on that thought and putting together the ideas for this show. And the other day I was listening to the song Come Hang Out by AJR, which if you're not familiar with the band, they're really rad. I really like them. It's three brothers. They are just very talented. They sing about very real topics. They also have this song called, I think it's called Netflix Journey, or it's about The Office, and then like kind of like you're watching, you're this show was on for so long. It's like you watch a show and life also happens, and so you can kind of correlate. Like, oh, I remember watching this episode and this thing in my life also happening, and they sing about that, and it's just like really touching. And also, some their songs are just so playful. And anyways, I could go on about them. I've been listening to them for years, and I remember I accidentally saw them. They opened for Newfound Glory at the Bottom Lounge, and I was like, and I'd known a few of their songs, but to accidentally stumble upon them was like such a treat. And I just watching them live also was like watching a magic show. Like I was just in awe, and they are so electric, and their energy is so positive and real. And then, during COVID, when obviously we weren't going to shows, they did a live experience that you could like buy a ticket to online and watch. And I am so glad I did that, because it was like such a cool experience. And, they have their band and they're dancing and just telling a story through their art. And anyways, it's very inspiring. Also, they're just really good music. Very, very good. Anyways. So I'm listening to the song Come Hang Out, and there's a line in it, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't mess it up, but it's all of my life I have been starving, not for a dinner with friends, more of a starving artist. And for the first time in my life, that phrase, or that starving artist, I've always thought about it as I'm struggling. I'm a starving artist. I'm hungry. I am like, I'm not doing so hot, but I'm doing the thing that I love, and it's taking a lot out of me. But for the first time ever, it hit me of like having this hunger to create. And I have a friend who I do art days with, Michael Cooper, and amazing artist. And he's expressed to me this almost this exact feeling of like, I need to create. Like if I don't, I'll implode kind of deal. Like there is stuff inside of me that needs to come out, and this is the only way I can do it. And I have definitely felt that. However, I don't think I've ever allowed myself to like fully let it out. And, I've had ideas, and then I let them kind of wash themselves away, or I've tried and failed, or I start and I don't like it and then I stop. But recently with this piece that I want to create for Liz and I feel so compelled to create it, and I'm like, I have to get this out. Like I just have to. And so listening to this song, mind you, I've heard this song so many times. I love listening to this album, but I never once like kind of put it together. And because, he's mentioning like not for a dinner with friends, but of a starving artist. And I'm like, oh, this like hunger to create this, like I'm starving, and the only cure is more cowbell. No, but the only cure is creating and getting it out. And that's the only way I will feel full. And I just, there's, when you hear a phrase or like a description for so long, and you only think of it one way, and then to think of it in another light, I feel like it changed my chemistry. Like I was like, oh, there are things inside of me I need to get out. And like, what I'm creating right now, with pet portraits, it's more of like, I'm getting something else out for someone else. So someone goes, I love my animal and I want to turn them into art, and they like my art, and then I get to create that for them. And it is such a special feeling. It really is. And I don't think I talk about it enough because I think I feel weird talking about my work sometimes. But it's so special. I have a lot of folks that come to me, and it's like sad because, a lot of, I would say 85% of the portraits are for pets that are either close to passing or have passed. And it is such an honor for me to paint them because I totally get it. I've painted Oscar several times. I still love to like paint and doodle him. He'll be a forever muse for me. And so to be trusted in that way, and someone goes, I love them so much, and I trust you to paint them in a way that I remember them, and then they get it. And like, those are the ones that also, I mean, they all hit so hard because because we love them, it's just pure love. But again, it's me painting something, it's me getting something out for someone else. And so now to, think about myself, and I'm like, I have these things inside of me I need to get out. It's like giving myself permission, and it's really cool. And I don't know when I stopped giving myself that permission, because I definitely have a few pieces back in the day that I created that I was like, oh, I really wanted to do this, and I got it out, and it, felt really good. But like, none that were like, it was a lot of portraits of people, but nothing that I was like, oh, I need to create this for myself. And so like, to have this, I don't know, epiphany or whatever, I'm just so invigorated. And instead of looking at this hunger, like I'm hungry and woe is me, and this is hard. It's just like, I'm hungry and and I'm the only one who can like satiate this feeling by creating. And so it's given like, this new meaning to it, and I'm really excited. And I'm just, I think I had a bit of a mental, and by I think I did recently, I had a bit of a mental block about, as much as I'm creating and, this podcast, and I'm also painting and, pop-ups, and like also being my own marketer. And there's a lot of, I also love photography. And I really need to get a camera. That's on my agenda. But yeah, like in my head, I was like, am I spreading myself too thin? And that's where like that like the shift happened, is I was like, am I spreading myself too thin? But then I do these things, like I go on a photo day with a friend, and I'm like, I feel so good afterwards, like invigorated. And I was like, oh, actually, I think that's where I belong. Like, I'm spreading myself thin in areas that don't matter to me, which would be like, not that they don't matter, but there's certain things right now that are important to me, like creating and having very meaningful hangouts, and like this past weekend, it was a little bit of a last hurrah for me before I enter my busy season and before I really hunker down on this art show that I want to do and that I will do. Gotta manifest. And so I went out with friends, had a wonderful time at, we went to Polo and Pan. Highly recommend also listening to them. They're like kind of like French house, I believe. If you're looking for a good song, Nana or Magic or Canopy, those are probably their top 3 hits. But also Nana, I wake up to that song every morning and it is such a delight and I love it. It's either that or La Vie en Rose with Louis Armstrong. So, anywho, so this was kind of a last hurrah, and I am so glad I did it. We went and saw music. I wanted to be the most present, and I would just danced my ass off, and then we went and saw jazz afterwards. And it was so good. So yeah, we went to Polo and Pan, and then we saw a friend's band, the Righteous Rooster, at the Green Mill. And it was just like, also there was a band that went on just before them, and they played the song Wichita Lineman, which is such a great song. And that one hit me right in the feels, because it reminded me a lot of my time that I spent in Atlanta and just all of the love that I experienced there and all of my friends that I met. And just, it's got such a special place in my heart. Anyways, I had a good time. And but it was like also a celebration of like, I'm entering a new chapter, I think, in my life of hunkering down and feeding my soul. Like, I mean, really. And I'm ready to kind of just immerse myself in creativity because I go to these things, and then the next day, I'm out late, and the next day I was like, oh, I want to create, but I'm exhausted. And, I still have to train for running. And so it's putting my energy in the places that are really important to me right now, which is, my exercise and my creativity. And they kind of also go hand in hand because when I'm out running and stuff, I get to really like think about, my mind gets to kind of do its own thing and, solve problems or think about paintings. And I've definitely had a lot of runs where I've thought about paintings and I go, I should come home and sketch that, or, and yeah, I'm just really excited. And I'm actually looking around my room right now and I have several empty canvases that I'm like very excited to fill. And I think I used to always look at these and be a little bit, they were daunting because I'm like, oh, this is a lot. It's a big canvas and I'm like, I was very afraid of big canvases and now I'm very excited. So yeah. I've been in my feels, and being a creative, it ebbs and it flows, the things that inspire you and kind of invigorate, and then it also ebbs and flows, like the rate in which you're creating. And I know there was a time where I was creating a lot, and there have been times where I wasn't creating at all. If you've been following me for a bit, like last year, I kind of put the pen or the paintbrush down and I was like, I think I'm good. And then I stopped, and then it was like, God, I hate this life without art and without creating. And I did find other things that I was still creating. I was taking photos, I was doing videos, but I wasn't painting. And I was like, it's one thing to look through a lens and take a photo. It's another thing to see something and to physically make it with your hands. It's just so different. Also highly recommend. Go and do that. Make some stuff with your hands. But yeah, so I'm pumped, guys. I'm gonna be hunkering down, creating some new stuff. Probably different tech, and by probably, I mean, yeah, definitely, different technique than what I use for my pet portraits. And I think I'm actually going to go back to acrylic paint because I want to do more blending. The last art show I also had was, I think it was in 2019. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. What a lifetime ago, really. I know we're all like, that was like such a weird time because it was right before everything shut down, but it was, I think, October of 2020. And that was also a very weird time for me. I had a very traumatic loss of a pet, and I remember being kind of screwed up from that. And I also was just in a weird like depression actually during like the creation of this show. And it's so weird to look back at that and go, oh, I wish I could give myself a hug. Like, I wish I could have like told myself what I really needed to hear. And at the time, I think I was, hopefully this isn't oversharing, but no, wait a minute, it's my podcast. No, but hopefully this resonates with someone. But there was definitely a time where I was seeking out like comfort from other people, and then I would get it and it wasn't working. And the truth is I had to seek it from myself. And I had a day where I remember I woke up and I was like, no one will get me out of this depression. No one thing can get me out of this depression. I have to make the decision today. And I remember Oscar being the sweetest cat. And, after we had lost our baby cat, sadly. And I just and he would sleep on like literally like on my head and neck. He'd put his little head on my neck when we slept. Like after all of this happened, it was just like, I think his way of comforting me. And I remember looking at him and just being like, all right, like I gotta do this. And he was there with me. And it's so like, it was very sweet. But I remember being like, yeah, I have to do this for myself. And no one can get me out of a depression as much as I hoped that could be the case. And it started small. I remember using CBD to help me mentally get out of this funk. If you listen to the podcast with Charlie, my episode with Charlie, we talk a little briefly on this. But this is what I use CBD. I think it was like 10 milligrams. And every day I would take one in the morning. I would I created a routine because I had read that routine helps for getting out of a depression and doing small tasks like doing the dishes, making your bed. Like every time you do a little something like that, it's kind of like a little win. And it just starts kind of like adding up. And I remember I wanted to get back into working out. I had gained some weight and I would go to the basement and I was like, I'm not going to work out. I am just going to move my body in whatever way that makes me feel good. And dance is always my favorite. And so I'd put on I made an empowering playlist where I was like, these are all really feel good songs. And it's all about like strong women and I just needed that. And I would go downstairs and I would dance a little bit and hang out with Oscar. And eventually I started picking up weights and then eventually started getting out and running again and like worked myself out of this funk. And thankfully, I was able to. And then also with I also signed up for therapy shortly after. And working on all of that now, I can catch when I'm like, oh, I'm a little down today. And it's like, oh, you know what? We got to do the opposite of what we want to do. We want to sleep all day. Let's go for a walk. Let's go clear our mind. Let's go do something. Like I can catch myself now. And it's like, oh man, if only I knew then what I knew now, but that's not how growth works. So with all of that going on, and then I had this art show, and I had already had everything signed up. I had been sending out flyers for months, and I created very fast for this show. And I remember like a lot of the pieces, it was also a show that was kind of like, kind of catering to my inner child. I wanted it to be very pastel-y and creative and fun. And, I had a painting of a cupcake, and then below it, there were actual cupcakes that you could eat. So it was like you're eating the painting. And I had a wonderful opening where, I had my friend's jazz band was playing, and, everyone was drinking, having a good time. We had a bartender. It was a lovely evening. I remember I didn't really take that many photos that night, and being kind of devastated that I didn't. I had like friends who did, but I didn't get the photos I would hope to get. And I also, though, like, the show was great, but I remember after still being like, I'm still sad. Like, I'm still, I thought this was going to feel better. And part of it is because I didn't put in my all for the show, because I was sad, I was depressed, and I was like, I was procrastinating these pieces. And then, it finally came down to crunch time, and I'm just pumping out pieces, and I'm like, there's a few that I'm very proud of, but I had one actually, and it went along with a bit, which is such an interesting, I think back and I'm like, even though I was in such a funk, I am still very proud of this show. I wasn't immediately after. I was actually pretty disappointed because I felt that I didn't put in my 100%. But the truth is I did put in my 100%. It just isn't what my 100% is now. And that's okay. And I wish I could just hug my past self and be like, yo, you did great. You did your best. It really was a successful, wonderful show. And people coming through for that whole weekend to view pieces. And it was very special. And so, but at the time, yeah, it was, I looked at some of these paintings, specifically, the one with Baby Cat and I was like, I wish I had tried harder. I wish I'd done better. And like, I wish I painted that one a little bit better and spent more time on it. It came out fine, but it wasn't what I had envisioned. And when you have this feeling of like, I need to get this specific thing out, and then to not get it out was kind of like, ugh, like just, yeah. But anyway, so now, I'm taking notes from that past show. What worked, what didn't work, how I would like to scale it. And, now I'm months out from it, and I'm like, okay, I'm putting together how many pieces am I going to create? How much time do I think each piece is going to take? And I'm just so excited. And I'm excited to share this with you all, because the one piece with Liz, so I do want to keep, some pieces kind of like a bit of a mystery so that you see them for the first time at this show. It is going to be a show that's going to be told through basically a story. So when you walk in, you're going to have a thing to read, and then you get to walk through this show. And it's going to kind of be a story. And the theme is home. and I'm really excited. I'm just so excited. So it is going to be a bit more of like a Chicago themed show. And then also with aspects of my life, including Liz. And I'm getting a little emotional. I'm really excited to talk about her, and share a little bit about her and our experience. And like, it's been 10 years since the surgery, and yet it feels like yesterday, and I'm just really excited. And so even more stoked to be sharing it with you guys. So yes, I will have dates soon for that. It'll be the beginning of December or the end of November, but because I know December is a hard month for most of us, just with the holidays being so soon. But yeah, it might be a nice like end of November thing for like after Thanksgiving or something. But we shall see. I gotta obviously get a venue first and get all those details ironed out this week. So yeah. If you're feeling less than inspired, I hope you start feeding that hunger inside of you to create. Maybe it's taking a break on the medium you normally do and trying a different medium. Maybe it's, getting rid of distractions. That's kind of where I'm at right now, as I'm like, as much as I love going out, like, and hanging out with friends, I really need to hunker down and I need to get out this creativity that I have inside of me, and that is so desperately calling to get out. And I'm like, I have not been listening. And now I am. And so can't wait to see what comes out. You know what I mean? It's going to be a surprise to me as well. But okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you feel a little inspired. Definitely check out AJR. The song Come Hang Out is very fun. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. We do have an episode coming out tomorrow with a special guest. So I'm very, very excited. So we talk with my friend Kelsey about acting. So she is an acting coach, as well as scene study. She does scene study as well. And yeah, we talk about a whole lot of stuff. And I'm really excited for you guys to experience her and our chit chat. It's kind of a long one, but it's a really good one. So I guess, actually this little precursor is about being inspired and about being creative and feeding your soul. And the episode with Kelsey, we kind of also touch on that. So I'm really glad this came to me before that one. And yeah, it's a great listen. So stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. And thank you guys so much for listening. Always stoked to have you. We'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.